Imagine this. You are driving home after dinner with your family, and all of a sudden you see the red and blue police lights flashing behind you. You are getting pulled over. In your mind, you're thinking, well, maybe I was going a little fast, but I don't think I've done anything wrong. You pull over. And because you're a legal gun owner, you're naturally polite, and you likely think transparency is your best friend. The officer walks up to you and says, "Do you have any weapons in the car?" Here's the trap. If you answer the way most people do, you just handed them the perfect excuse to do three things: control you, separate you from your car, and start fishing for a reason to search. And in a minute, I'm going to give you the exact sentence to say that protects you without acting sketchy. And we're also going to break down the firearm possession rules across the country because disclosure rules vary by the state you're in. Before we talk guns, let's talk reality. Traffic stops have obligations. In almost every single state, you are expected to provide your driver's license and usually registration and proof of insurance if requested. Please leave the comments about the right to travel alone. Well, Mark, I'm not engaged in a business, so I don't have to actually provide my life. Stop. Just stop. That's nonsense. If you think that, please educate yourself on the right to travel. It's nothing to do with that. It's the right to go to different states and be treated like a welcome person there. It's about to go internationally travel. It's not being able to drive without a driver's license. So get that out of your head. The right to travel crowd usually creates more problems than they think they solve, and they turn a simple traffic stop into an arrest for refusal to identify or obstruction of justice. So get rid of that mindset. The mindset you want to have at a traffic stop is comply physically, don't volunteer illegally. Because the roadside is not where you win the argument. It's where you avoid the extra charges. So the quick safety routine is pull over safely. Turn on the interior dome light if it's nighttime. Keep your hands on the wheel where the officer can see them. And narrate your movements if the officer asks you to get things, such as, I'm reaching to the glove box for my registration. Now, here comes the question that changes everything. When the officer asks, any weapons? Your answer depends on where you are in the United States of America. To make this as simple as possible, we're going to break it down into three buckets. The first bucket is a duty to inform. The best example for this is Texas. If you are pulled over, you have a duty to inform the officer you have a firearm on your possession as part of getting a permit. There might be some variations of that, but generally Texas is a duty to inform state. The second bucket is inform if asked. Some states don't require you to volunteer it, but if they ask directly, you may have a duty to answer, depending on the state and even your permit status. These are states like New York and Florida. And then bucket C is there's no duty to disclose. This is where people have the most options, but also where people talk themselves into a search. Indiana is an example of a no duty to disclose state. What this means for people watching this video is the law might not require you to announce you have a firearm, but the moment an officer learns a gun's involved, the stop changes. Which brings us to the most important question. Why does officer knows you have a gun often lead into officer tries to search the car? The reason is simple. It's pure human psychology plus basic police training. When you tell the officer, oh, I have a gun, three things happen instantly. Number one, threat perception spikes. Even if you're lawful and you're following the law, the officer's brain goes, unknown person plus gun equals potential danger. That increases adrenaline, caution, and most importantly, the officer's desire for control. And what does control look like? Well, control looks like step out of the vehicle. Where is the gun located? Keep your hands where I can see them. I am going to secure that firearm for now. Number two, their legal toolbox gets bigger. Once officer safety is on the table, officers know they can order you out of the car on a lawful traffic stop, pat you down if they believe you may be armed and dangerous, and in some situations, do a limited weapons sweep of areas you could lunge towards. So what do they need to justify the next steps? They need you to give them facts they can describe later. He was nervous. He wouldn't answer questions. He made movements. His story was inconsistent. This was a high crime area, so I had reason to be on alert. I suspected impairment. Now, some of these are contradictory, and it's kind of crazy. He was nervous. He was abnormally calm. Some of these are silly, and some of them are inconsistent, but the law is an officer can take innocent statements in combination with each other, plus his training experience, and you can make assumptions on those. So anything you tell the officer can be used against you. And then sometimes in the comments of these videos, people try to make funny comments. I tell them, your mom's house. Listen, I love a good joke. I would argue that at the side of the road with an officer is not the time to make them. That's just me. Mileage might vary. People will always tell me, I got out of a ticket because I made them laugh. Listen, please, I would advise against making people laugh at the side of the road, especially police officers, whatever. Keep that in mind. And the questions officers ask you, your responses, they use those responses to, number 3, build a story that supports searching your vehicle. Now, if the officers don't have probable cause to search your vehicle, there are 2 easy ways for them to get to search your vehicle. Number 1, you consent. Number 2, the officers create enough suspicion to extend the stop and escalate. And the number 1 way officers get consent is with social pressure. You don't mind if I take a look, right? If you've got nothing to hide, you don't mind me searching your car, right? Help me understand why you're so nervous. Is there anything in this car that shouldn't be there? When officers ask those questions, you feel like you have to prove that you're a good guy. But listen, you don't talk your way out of a search. You talk your way into one. So here's the easiest and cleanest way to handle it depending on your state bucket. If the officers know or suspect that you've got a weapon, these questions are rarely small talk. They're usually about creating permission or suspicion. So once you've been pulled over and you've given your license and you've complied with your state's duty to inform law, and the officer continues asking questions, let's deal with that. So the first question is, where are you coming from? And it's not because they care, it's to lock you into a story that they can pick at. So your safe response to where are you coming from is, I plead the 5th. That might sound aggressive. I think exercising your rights is never aggressive, and the officer that would get mad at you for exercising your rights is exactly the officer you need to exercise your rights against. Some people say the better line is, I don't answer questions. I can see that coming back and biting you. Do answer questions later. So I say I plead the 5th. It's perfectly acceptable, and it's right to the point. It's your 5th Amendment. It's right to the point. The second question, anything illegal in the car? This is the nastiest one, because if they find anything, even something that is not yours, they can claim that you lied. And people all the time tell me, Mark, I know it's exactly in my car. I don't mind if they search. There is no way you know everything that's in your car. Impossible. Someone could open the door, threw trash in there. A guest might have left something in the seats, in the cushions. There's zero chance you know everything. And to claim otherwise is just ridiculous. So if an officer asks you anything illegal in the car, I plead the 5th. Again, I plead the 5th. It's like a multi-tool. It's amazing. I love it. Trick question number 3. You wouldn't mind if I take a look, right? This one is the worst because the officer can say, however you answer it, yes or no, you're giving him permission. He said, no, nothing illegal in the car, so I can look. He said, yes, meaning it was okay for me to search the car. No, don't do that. So simply say, I don't consent to searches. That's it. Simple and direct. Body cam picks it up. There's no way to misinterpret, I do not consent to searches. Trick question number 4, more of a statement. I'll just call K9. Listen. Officers cannot extend a completed traffic stop just to wait on a dog without separate reasonable suspicion. So what do? They try to create reasonable suspicion through your answers, your nerves, your movements, especially once they know a gun's involved. And officers know a lot of people get nervous around police dogs or dogs in general. And a lot of folks would rather not have a dog come and say, oh yeah, search them if you can bring a dog. Again, if they start saying that, don't fight them. Simply say, I do not consent to searches. You're like a broken record at that point. And then trick number 5, the attitude bait. Some officers push buttons because an emotional driver makes mistakes. They get loud, start reaching around, they start arguing. They say something dumb like, go ahead, search, I don't care. In that situation, your job is to be a broken record. You want to be polite. Sometimes trials become a popularity contest, and officers look terrible when the person's nice and calm and they are acting a fool. But you want to be polite, you want to be calm, you want to be short, you want to be consistent. Plead the 5th, I don't consent to searches. So here is the roadside handbook if you are carrying a weapon in the car. Number 1, know the state you're in. If the officer approaches, know your obligation. If you're in a must disclose, disclose. If you're in a duty to disclose if they ask, disclose. If you have no obligation, keep your mouth shut. Keep your hands on the wheel. And when the officer asks for a license, registration, all the fun stuff, narrate what you're doing. Officer, my documents are in the glove box. How would you like me to proceed? If asked to search, I do not consent to any searches. If the questions keep coming, I plead the 5th. And then the 4th step is the 2 clock questions. If the stop is dragging, simply ask, am I being detained? Am I free to go? On repeat. Now here is a critical rule. If you are carrying, and the officer wants to secure your firearm, let him. But I would caution anybody watching this video to never handle a firearm in the presence of an officer. Because if something goes wrong, if you're touching a firearm and an officer is present, the officer can do almost anything to you and you will not be punished or held responsible in any capacity, all in the name of officer safety. If the officer wants to secure the firearm, tell him where it's at and have him reach it. And if he says, hand it to me, tell him, I'm not comfortable touching that firearm in your presence. I'll let you know where it's at and you can get it yourself, officer. Hands up. Make sure he sees your hands. You don't want him thinking you're making movements towards that gun. Please trust me on not handling a firearm in the officer's presence. Key line is, officer, I'm not going to touch it. You are welcome to secure it. Remember, the side of the road is not the place to win cases. Comply physically, assert your rights verbally, and document what happens. If you've been charged in the great state of Indiana, give me and my team here a call at Marc Lopez Law Firm. Number is 317-632-3642. We love talking about your options. If you've watched this long, man, you must like me just a little tiny bit. And I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave me a comment. Let me know if you like this blue shirt. I can't tell. This jacket's kind of wrinkled up right here. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's also important to note that I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. You need to know a lawyer in your state who can answer specific questions about your state. That's so important. And know a lawyer before you need a lawyer. Isn't that crazy? Have like a relationship. And most importantly, and I believe this with all of my heart, remember to always plead the fifth.